The world we inhabit is filled with wonders. Yet beneath the surface of our everyday lives lie secrets that defy explanation, whispers of events and creations that seem almost impossible. From the earliest moments of human history to the remnants of civilizations long gone, there are stories that challenge our understanding, mysteries that linger just beyond the reach of reason. As you close your eyes and listen, imagine a journey through time and space, where the boundaries between what we know and what we can only wonder about blur softly, like shadows at dusk. There is a quiet thrill in considering the impossible, a gentle curiosity that awakens without urgency, guiding us through history's hidden corners. Consider the ancient monuments that rise from the earth, silent and enduring, yet somehow perfectly aligned with the stars, constructed with a precision that modern technology struggles to replicate. The pyramids of Egypt, for instance, stand not only as tombs or monuments, but as enigmas carved in stone. Each block seems deliberate, each angle deliberate, and yet the methods used by those who built them remain a matter of debate. How could a civilization, without cranes, motors, or even standardized measuring tools, raise structures that echo with mathematical perfection? Such questions stir a quiet awe, a sense of wonder that refuses to fade even as the centuries pass. Across distant continents, other civilizations left traces equally puzzling. The terraces of Machu Picchu cling to mountainsides as if sculpted by invisible hands, stones cut and placed with such care that they fit together without mortar. Ancient roads span impossible landscapes, connecting cities separated by hundreds of miles, demanding the imagination to envision how they were built and why. And beneath it all lies a more profound mystery. Why did so much of this knowledge vanish? How did humans once accomplish feats, now almost unimaginable, only for their methods to disappear with the people themselves? The contrast between our current understanding and the depth of lost knowledge awakens a quiet fascination, one that invites reflection rather than immediate answers. It is not only the monumental that captures the imagination. Small artifacts, fragments of daily life preserved through millennia, can carry whispers of the extraordinary. A piece of pottery inscribed with a map of the stars, a tool whose purpose is unknown, or a text written in symbols that remain undeciphered, all hint at minds capable of understanding the world in ways that seem almost alien to us today. Each object becomes a portal, a bridge between the known and the unknowable, reminding us that history is not simply a linear record, but a tapestry woven with gaps and mysteries, some of which may never be fully revealed. And yet, these secrets do not exist to frustrate us. They exist to provoke thought, to awaken that part of the mind that delights in quiet exploration, in imagining the impossible. There's a serenity in acknowledging the unknown, a gentle surrender to the notion that not everything can, or should, be fully understood. In this space, between certainty and speculation, history becomes alive, breathing in the imagination of those who listen closely. Even the most enigmatic occurrences, the most confounding artifacts, are invitations to see the world with wonder, to appreciate the delicate balance between knowledge and mystery. As the sun sets on the familiar and the shadows lengthen over the landscapes of the past, we are drawn into a subtle rhythm of curiosity. Step by step, we will wander through ancient cities, forgotten technologies, and inexplicable phenomena, guided by the calm voice of history and the soft glow of mystery. Nothing here demands immediate understanding. Nothing here requires proof. Instead, there's the quiet magic of contemplating what could be, of leaning into the gentle tension between the known and the unknowable. By the time the first section draws to a close, the mind has begun to shift, opening to possibilities it might never have considered, ready to drift deeper into the hidden corners of the world and its secrets. This is a journey without haste, a passage through centuries and ideas where the impossible becomes a companion, where the whisper of lost knowledge settles softly around us. And as you listen, Allow yourself to drift along the edges of history and mystery, feeling the calm pull of curiosity and the subtle excitement of discovery. This is only the beginning, a first step into a world where the secrets of the past stretch beyond reason, inviting us to wonder, to imagine, and perhaps to sleep with the gentle knowledge that some mysteries are timeless, endless, and entirely our own to explore. Across the vast expanse of human history, there are civilizations whose accomplishments continue to bewilder scholars, archaeologists, and curious minds alike. These were societies that achieved feats of engineering, architecture, and organization that seem almost impossible when viewed through the lens of the tools and knowledge supposedly available to them. The more we uncover about their lives, the more we are struck by a striking contrast: the extraordinary capabilities of the human mind against the apparent limitations of the era in which they lived. It is a quiet, humbling reminder that what we assume about the past may only scratch the surface of a far deeper reality. Take, for example, the pyramids of Egypt. They rise from the desert sands like monuments not merely to kings, but to human ingenuity itself. The precision with which millions of limestone blocks were cut, transported, and assembled continues to spark debate and wonder. Each stone fits together with such exactness that even a thin blade cannot be inserted between them. The alignment of the pyramids with the stars, the care in their orientation to cardinal points, and the complexity of their internal chambers suggest a knowledge of astronomy, mathematics, and engineering that challenges our assumptions about ancient societies. And yet, despite centuries of study, the exact methods used remain elusive, leaving room for the mind to wander, to imagine the hands and minds that accomplished what seems nearly impossible. Half a world away, in the Andes, the city of Machu Picchu rests high upon a mountain ridge, its terraces and walls seemingly molded into the landscape itself. Stones fit together so seamlessly that mortar was unnecessary, and the buildings have withstood centuries of earthquakes that would have toppled lesser constructions. How these people transported and shaped such massive stones without modern machinery is a question that continues to inspire amazement. And beyond the technical achievement, the location itself poses further mysteries. Why build a city in such a remote, treacherous setting? Some suggest sacred purposes, others defensive strategies, yet no theory fully captures the vision behind it. The very existence of such a place, so advanced and harmonious with its environment, invites quiet reflection on the scope of human creativity and determination. Then there is Göbekli Tepe, a site in modern-day Turkey that pushes the boundaries of what we understand about ancient culture. Dated to over 11,000 years ago, long before agriculture was widely established, it features enormous stone pillars arranged in precise circles, adorned with intricate carvings of animals and abstract symbols. The level of craftsmanship and organization required to build such a structure, at a time when humans were thought to be simple hunter-gatherers, suggests an unexpected sophistication. Each pillar tells a story, not just of human skill, but of ideas, rituals, and possibly a spiritual awareness that resonates across millennia. As we explore such sites in our imagination, we encounter the delightful tension between what we know and what must remain a mystery, a space where curiosity gently unfolds. The ancient city of Petra, carved into rose-colored cliffs in the heart of the Arabian desert, offers another glimpse of brilliance that seems beyond its time. Elaborate facades, grand temples, and complex water systems speak to a culture that mastered both artistry and practicality. How they managed to channel water through arid canyons to sustain a bustling city is a question that continues to intrigue historians. And the visual impact of Petra, the way it emerges from stone as if grown rather than built, stirs a quiet sense of awe. These achievements are not merely technical. They are artistic expressions, reflections of human vision and ambition, frozen in time, yet pulsating with the energy of those who dreamed them into reality. Beyond architecture, The roads and infrastructure of ancient civilizations offer further evidence of remarkable ingenuity. Roman roads stretched for hundreds of miles, connecting cities and facilitating trade and communication across an empire. Some of these roads remain in use today, a testament to their durability and design. Similarly, the Inca road system wove across mountains and valleys with engineering so precise that modern engineers continue to study and admire it. These pathways, carved across formidable landscapes, remind us that human innovation often emerges not merely from necessity, but from a deep desire to explore, connect, and leave a mark upon the world. What is particularly compelling is the knowledge that much of this sophistication has been lost to time. Techniques, tools, and understanding that allowed for these incredible feats were often not recorded in ways we can fully comprehend. Societies rose and fell, carrying with them wisdom that vanished with their collapse. The contrast between what remains and what has gone heightens a sense of wonder. How many secrets lie buried beneath the sands, forests, and mountains, waiting quietly to be discovered? And even when fragments of that knowledge resurface, they arrive as tantalizing puzzles rather than complete solutions, inviting speculation, imagination, and the quiet joy of pondering the impossible. Even the art and symbols left behind by these civilizations continue to intrigue. Intricate carvings, geometric patterns, and enigmatic iconography hint at sophisticated mathematical and astronomical knowledge. Some researchers suggest these designs contain encoded messages about the stars, seasons, or the natural world, while others see them as purely decorative. Whatever their intent, they invite us to pause, to trace lines with our eyes, to consider the minds capable of such detailed work. The calm repetition of symbols across monuments and artifacts evokes a sense of rhythm and purpose, a quiet connection to those long-departed creators. As we explore these civilizations in imagination, we begin to understand that their achievements were not mere accidents of history. They were the result of creativity, observation, and knowledge that, in many cases, seems almost lost to us. The tension between what they accomplished and what we currently understand fuels a deep curiosity, a gentle fascination that encourages us to reflect on the capacity of human ingenuity. These ancient societies, while distant in time, whisper to us across the ages, reminding us that the impossible is often just the undiscovered, and that history holds layers of knowledge waiting to be unveiled. In contemplating these civilizations, we enter a state of quiet wonder, where admiration and curiosity intermingle. Their impossible achievements are not just historical facts. They are invitations to consider the limits of human potential, the mysteries of ingenuity, and the fragile nature of knowledge. And as we drift deeper into this world, our imagination becomes a companion to the past, guiding us softly toward the next enigmas, the next mysteries, and the next revelations that lie just beyond the horizon of understanding. History is full of stories that begin in sunlight and end in shadow, tales of people, cities, and knowledge that vanished as if the world had claimed them back. Some civilizations flourished with brilliance, only to disappear suddenly, leaving behind ruins that hint at lives once vibrant, yet now silent. Entire cities have been swallowed by deserts, forests, or floods, and manuscripts that held profound wisdom have faded with the passing of centuries. The disappearance of such knowledge is a quiet reminder of both human fragility and the vastness of mystery, a gentle invitation to imagine the forces that shaped our world in ways we may never fully understand. Consider the city of Atlantis, a name that evokes wonder and speculation. Though its precise existence is debated, the story endures because it captures the idea of a society so advanced and complete that its sudden disappearance remains etched in human imagination. The thought of entire communities vanishing overnight, leaving only echoes and artifacts behind, challenges our assumptions about permanence and progress. And while Atlantis may belong to myth, history offers other examples where reality mirrors legend. Cities such as Ubar, once thriving in the Arabian Peninsula, are believed to have disappeared beneath shifting sands, leaving behind traces of trade routes and crumbling structures that hint at their former splendor. In Europe, the sudden decline of civilizations like the Minoans on Crete remains partially unexplained. Once a flourishing society known for artistry, architecture, and complex social organization, the Minoans left behind palaces adorned with vivid frescoes, yet their cultures seem to vanish, leaving questions about natural disasters, invasions, or other unknown forces that might have erased them from history. Each archaeological excavation, each fragment of pottery, opens a window into a society that was vibrant and sophisticated, yet whose knowledge and ways of life remain largely inaccessible to us. The silence they left behind is as compelling as the artifacts themselves, a quiet puzzle that encourages reflection and contemplation. Manuscripts, too, can disappear, carrying knowledge that may never be fully recovered. Libraries burned, scrolls decayed, and records were lost to time, robbing humanity of insights into medicine, astronomy, engineering, and philosophy. The Library of Alexandria stands as the most famous example, a repository of knowledge said to contain the collective wisdom of the ancient world, erased in a series of tragic events. Scholars have speculated endlessly about what might have been preserved within its walls. Though the records are gone, the mere thought of the knowledge that vanished evokes both wonder and a gentle melancholy, highlighting the fragile and fleeting nature of human achievement. Some lost knowledge seems to resurface in fragments, appearing in unexpected places. Archaeologists occasionally uncover inscriptions, tools, or writings that hint at forgotten science, advanced craftsmanship, or complex social structures. These fragments act as clues to the past, sparking imagination and quiet reflection. They suggest that while some wisdom may have disappeared entirely, the echoes of it persist, scattered like starlight across history, waiting for those willing to notice, to piece together, and to ponder. The incomplete nature of these discoveries is part of their charm, a subtle tension between understanding and mystery that draws us in without demanding resolution. Disappearance is not limited to cities or documents. Individuals, too, have vanished under mysterious circumstances. Explorers, thinkers, and inventors have sometimes left no trace beyond whispers in letters, fragmented diaries, or fleeting mentions in historical records. Figures such as these occupy the space between fact and legend, inspiring stories and speculation that endure through centuries. The contrast between their recorded existence and the gaps left by their absence amplifies our curiosity. Their lives, like scattered breadcrumbs, encourage us to trace patterns and ask questions that may never have definitive answers, creating a quiet, meditative engagement with the past. Natural forces, too, can erase knowledge with breathtaking subtlety. Earthquakes, floods, volcanic eruptions, and shifting landscapes have buried entire civilizations, preserving their remnants beneath layers of soil or stone. The city of Pompeii, frozen under volcanic ash, offers a rare glimpse into life paused in an instant. Yet even it is only a fragment of countless societies lost to natural calamities. These events remind us of the impermanence of human achievement and the delicate balance between survival and oblivion. They invite us to consider the broader forces that shape history, the ways in which nature can preserve as well as erase, and the mysteries that remain buried, waiting patiently to be discovered. Yet the loss of knowledge is not always the result of disaster. Some wisdom disappears simply because it is no longer practiced, because cultural shifts render certain techniques or understandings obsolete. Ancient languages die, crafts fade, and traditions dissolve, taking with them a subtle kind of intelligence, a way of seeing and interacting with the world that can rarely be reconstructed. Archaeological remnants of these vanished practices act as quiet reminders of what was once known and what is now lost, a gentle nudge to honor the ingenuity of those who lived before us, even as we may never fully grasp their methods. The tension between what remains and what is lost is deeply compelling. Ruins, fragments, and faded manuscripts evoke a profound sense of wonder. They are evidence of human potential and ambition, yet also of its vulnerability. As we wander through these remnants in our minds, we sense the presence of lives lived fully, of knowledge once vibrant and now mostly silent. Each disappearance, each loss, becomes an invitation to contemplate the fleeting and fragile nature of human accomplishment and to appreciate the glimpses of brilliance that have survived the passage of time. Ultimately, the sudden disappearance of civilizations, knowledge, and individuals teaches a quiet lesson: that the world is more complex and mysterious than it appears, and that some truths may exist only at the edges of comprehension. By embracing this tension, we allow ourselves to dwell in curiosity, to imagine the incredible possibilities that once existed, and to reflect on the ways in which history continues to surprise and inspire. And as we drift deeper into the mysteries of the past, we carry with us a sense of reverence for the lost, a calm appreciation for what remains, and a gentle anticipation for the secrets yet to be discovered in the chapters that follow. Even in the everyday objects left behind by ancient civilizations, there are secrets that hint at knowledge and understanding far beyond what we might expect. Sometimes, the most extraordinary discoveries are not monumental structures, but subtle clues buried in plain sight, waiting for those with patience and imagination to notice. An artifact, a carving, a fragment of text. These are more than mere remnants of a bygone era. They are windows into a world where the ordinary and the extraordinary coexist, where what seems familiar may carry hidden layers of meaning, and where human creativity and curiosity shine through in unexpected ways. Maps, for instance, provide a compelling glimpse into knowledge that defies conventional understanding. Some ancient maps depict continents with surprising accuracy, seemingly drawn long before modern exploration confirmed their shapes. They suggest that the people who created them observed, recorded, and understood more than we often give them credit for. How could such precision exist without the tools and methods we now consider essential? These maps, whether etched on parchment, carved into stone, or painted onto fragile surfaces, challenge assumptions about the limits of observation and comprehension in the past. They invite us to wonder quietly about the minds capable of bridging such gaps in knowledge, and the possibilities that may have been lost to time. Inscriptions and symbols, scattered across ruins, tombs, and temples, also offer tantalizing glimpses of the unknown. Some remain undeciphered, leaving us to imagine their meanings and purposes. Others seem to encode knowledge about astronomy, mathematics, or ritual practices that we can only partially understand. The act of looking closely at these symbols is itself a meditative experience, a way of stepping into the thought process of someone who lived thousands of years ago. It reminds us that communication, in all its forms, can carry subtle layers of meaning that persist long after words have faded, a gentle invitation to explore and interpret with curiosity rather than certainty. Even tools and artifacts that appear ordinary at first glance can reveal extraordinary capabilities. Stones shaped with remarkable precision, metal objects whose metallurgy exceeds the expected technological limits of the era, or devices whose purpose remains a mystery, all speak to a human capacity for innovation that we often underestimate. These objects are more than evidence of skill. They're evidence of intention, of a desire to solve problems and create solutions that may not conform to our modern expectations. In their presence, we feel the quiet resonance of ingenuity stretching across centuries, a subtle reminder that history is rarely as simple as it seems. Architecture itself often conceals hidden knowledge. The orientation of buildings, the positioning of temples in relation to celestial events, and the careful alignment of streets or monuments suggest a deep understanding of the natural world. These elements, embedded in the structures themselves, are clues that point to knowledge both practical and symbolic. They reveal a sophisticated awareness of geometry, astronomy, and environmental harmony. By studying them, we see that even the act of building was a form of communication, a way of embedding wisdom into the very fabric of human life, a knowledge that could endure long after the builders themselves had passed. Artifacts and symbols also remind us that history is layered with intentionality. Sometimes, what seems decorative or routine may conceal profound meaning. The repetition of certain motifs, the careful placement of objects, or the use of specific materials may encode ideas that we are only beginning to glimpse. These hidden messages create a dialogue across time, connecting us to minds that thought deeply about their world and sought to leave traces of understanding for those who followed. There is a quiet thrill in tracing these connections, in imagining the reasons behind choices that may never be fully explained, and in recognizing the interplay between the seen and the unseen in human history. The subtlety of these discoveries encourages reflection rather than hurried analysis. Unlike grand monuments or cataclysmic events, these secrets require patience, attention, and a willingness to dwell in the unknown. They invite us to notice small details, to linger on possibilities, and to appreciate the layers of human thought that persist even when documentation is incomplete or fragmented. The act of observing these objects and considering their potential meanings becomes a meditative journey in itself, a gentle exploration of the interface between knowledge, imagination, and mystery. And yet, even when explanations are offered, the tension between clarity and ambiguity remains. Scholars may suggest theories, but many artifacts resist definitive interpretation, reminding us that understanding is not always complete or final. This ongoing uncertainty is not frustrating. It is part of the allure. It allows the mind to wander through endless possibilities, to consider alternate histories, and to embrace the idea that some knowledge may exist outside of conventional frameworks, accessible only through imagination and attentive observation. By focusing on the hidden details, the overlooked objects, and the subtle designs left in plain sight, we gain a new appreciation for the ingenuity of those who came before us. These discoveries serve as quiet reminders that history is not only about what is monumental and visible, but also about the layers of insight and understanding embedded in the ordinary. The gentle curiosity sparked by noticing these secrets prepares the mind to engage with more complex mysteries, technologies, phenomena, and knowledge that challenge not only our understanding of the past, but also our assumptions about possibility itself. As we leave behind the whispers of artifacts and symbols, we carry forward the sense of wonder that arises when the familiar reveals hidden depth. It is a curiosity that will guide us into the next chapter of exploration, where the boundaries between what is known and what remains unknown continue to blur. Each discovery, each hidden clue, adds to the quiet tapestry of mystery, inviting us to move further into the subtle and astonishing secrets of human history. With every observation, we take a step deeper into the hidden layers of the past, ready to encounter knowledge that seems impossible, yet persists in fragments, waiting for those willing to see and imagine. Throughout history, there have been moments when knowledge brushed against the impossible, when discoveries and inventions seemed to push beyond the boundaries of understanding. Some of these breakthroughs were recorded, others hinted at, and still others may have been deliberately hidden, preserved only in whispers, texts, or fragmented artifacts. These glimpses into advanced understanding, often referred to as forbidden knowledge, challenge our perception of what humans were capable of in the past. They are not merely curiosities. They are reminders that our current view of history may be only a fragment, a selective lens shaped by what survived, by what was deemed acceptable, and by what was deemed too dangerous or mysterious to share openly. Consider the ancient manuscripts that describe techniques and devices almost fantastical in nature. Some texts hint at mechanisms that resemble modern machines centuries before their supposed invention. Others describe phenomena in physics or astronomy with surprising accuracy, long before these principles were formally understood. The existence of such knowledge raises profound questions. How much did these civilizations truly understand? And why did this understanding vanish? Was it lost to time, suppressed intentionally, or simply misunderstood by those who came later? Each question lingers gently, encouraging reflection rather than immediate answers, allowing the mind to dwell in the quiet wonder of possibility. Ancient civilizations often combined observation of the natural world with meticulous experimentation, achieving results that remain baffling today. In the case of metallurgy, for example, there are examples of metalworking far ahead of their time, creating alloys that modern science only began to understand centuries later. Some ancient swords, tools, and ceremonial objects exhibit properties suggesting knowledge of processes like quenching and tempering that were not formally documented until much later. The precision required to manipulate materials in this way, without modern instruments, hints at a level of understanding and experimentation that feels almost magical. Yet it was grounded in careful observation, repeated trials, and perhaps methods that have simply been lost to history. Astronomical knowledge, too, can appear astonishing when viewed through the lens of what was thought possible for ancient peoples. Observatories, alignments of temples and monuments, and calendars indicate a remarkable awareness of celestial cycles. Structures like Stonehenge, the Mayan observatories in Central America, and the complex astronomical devices hinted at in ancient Greek texts suggest a deep understanding of planetary movements, eclipses, and the passage of time. These achievements were not merely practical. They were symbolic, spiritual, and scientific all at once. The coexistence of precision and ritual creates a tension between the known and the unknown, reminding us that some knowledge may have been considered sacred or too potent to share freely. Even everyday technology from the past can hold hints of forgotten brilliance. Water systems, canals, and aqueducts demonstrate ingenuity that modern engineering continues to study. The precision with which water was channeled over long distances, sometimes across uneven terrain, reflects both deep practical knowledge and an understanding of natural forces. These systems were not just functional. They were often aesthetically integrated into the landscape, blending science and artistry in ways that modern engineers still marvel at. By observing these constructions, we begin to sense that knowledge can be both subtle and profound, residing in forms that may appear ordinary at first glance. Some knowledge, however, seems to have been deliberately hidden. There are references throughout history to secret societies, esoteric schools, and forbidden texts, suggesting that certain discoveries were considered too powerful, too destabilizing, or too sacred to be shared widely. Whether these secrets were philosophical, technological, or spiritual, they point to a human awareness of boundaries, a recognition that some truths may require discretion. The tension between what is openly taught and what is veiled adds an extra layer of mystery, inviting quiet contemplation about what might have existed and what may still lie waiting to be rediscovered. There are also accounts of knowledge that appears to transcend the conventional limits of science and logic, bordering on phenomena we struggle to define. Stories of individuals who anticipated natural events, constructed devices beyond contemporary understanding, or described concepts ahead of their time suggest a human potential that is not fully captured by conventional history. While some of these accounts may be embellished, the consistency of certain patterns across cultures and centuries is difficult to dismiss entirely. They hint at a human curiosity and ingenuity that, at times, seems capable of approaching the extraordinary, creating a sense of quiet awe that lingers as we reflect on the limits of what is possible. The exploration of forbidden knowledge encourages a different approach to history, one that values imagination, observation, and open-minded reflection. By considering the ideas and discoveries that challenge conventional understanding, we begin to see history not as a linear progression of facts, but as a layered tapestry of insight, speculation, and innovation. It is a tapestry in which the ordinary and extraordinary are intertwined, where moments of brilliance can be obscured by time, lost records, or deliberate concealment. The beauty of this perspective is in its invitation to dwell in possibility, to contemplate what might have been, and to quietly marvel at the intelligence and creativity of those who came before us. As we move through these reflections, it becomes clear that forbidden knowledge is not simply about uncovering secrets. It is about recognizing the depth and potential of the human mind. It invites us to see history as a living dialogue between curiosity and discovery, a world where understanding is always partial, and where mystery serves not as an obstacle, but as a source of wonder. The quiet thrill lies in imagining what might be rediscovered, in pondering the tools, methods, and ideas that may have once existed, and in acknowledging that our understanding of the past is far from complete. In contemplating these hidden insights, we prepare ourselves for the next layer of mystery, the strange and inexplicable phenomena that seem to defy the laws of nature and logic. By lingering on the edge of understanding, we open our minds to the unexpected, to ideas and events that challenge conventional thinking, and to experiences that bridge history, science, and imagination. The calm curiosity sparked by forbidden knowledge gently primes us to explore the further reaches of human achievement and anomaly, setting the stage for encounters with phenomena that blur the line between the possible and the impossible. Time is often thought of as linear, flowing steadily from past to present. Yet history is filled with moments and accounts that seem to bend, twist, or even break this seemingly simple progression. Across cultures and eras, there are reports of strange occurrences, sudden shifts, and anomalies that suggest time does not always behave as we expect. People have spoken of lost hours, visions of the future, and events that appear out of sequence, leaving behind traces that cannot easily be reconciled with conventional understanding. These accounts create a quiet, almost meditative tension between what we know to be true and what seems possible, inviting us to step gently into a world where the familiar rules of reality may not always apply. In ancient texts and folklore, there are stories of sudden disappearances, travelers lost to unknown realms, or individuals who seem to appear in places far from where they began. Legends speak of people vanishing for days, or even years, only to return as if no time had passed at all. While some of these stories may be mythological or symbolic, the recurrence of similar accounts across cultures hints at a deeper human fascination with time and its mysteries. These narratives encourage reflection, a quiet pondering of whether time, like knowledge, may hold secrets that elude even the most careful observation. Some historical records suggest that knowledge of time itself was manipulated in ways we do not yet fully understand. Ancient observatories and monuments are aligned with celestial cycles in ways that suggest an advanced comprehension of astronomical timekeeping. Stone circles, temples, and pyramids mark solstices, equinoxes, and other events with precision, offering a silent testimony to the human desire to measure and perhaps even influence the passage of time. These structures demonstrate that humans have long been aware of rhythms and cycles far beyond the ordinary, hinting at an intuitive understanding of forces that we only now begin to quantify scientifically. Across the natural world, there are phenomena that seem to echo this bending of time. Geological formations, tree rings, and preserved fossils offer snapshots of ages past, frozen in ways that make the invisible visible. Occasionally, objects appear in locations or contexts that contradict expected timelines, creating puzzles that challenge assumptions about history and chronology. Whether it is a perfectly preserved artifact in a layer of earth that should predate it, or an inscription that seems impossibly advanced for its era, these anomalies quietly suggest that our understanding of temporal flow is not absolute. They are subtle reminders that time, like knowledge, can be more fluid and layered than we assume. Human experience is also filled with accounts of precognition, déjà vu, and other phenomena that hint at time's elasticity. Ancient texts describe visions of the future, prophetic dreams, or insights that seemed impossible for individuals to have based on the information available to them. While science may explain some of these experiences as psychological or anecdotal, the consistency and frequency of such accounts across cultures create a lingering curiosity. They are gentle nudges for the imagination, prompting contemplation of the boundaries between perception, reality, and the subtle ways in which time may be experienced differently than our usual consciousness allows. Even in documented history, there are events that seem to unfold with strange synchronicity, as if patterns of causality are weaving themselves in unexpected ways. Ships disappear from sight, only to reappear in improbable locations. Inventions appear independently in separate parts of the world. Knowledge seems to resurface just as it is needed, as if guided by an unseen hand. These occurrences blur the line between coincidence and design, creating a quiet tension between logic and mystery. They invite the mind to wander, to imagine possibilities beyond linear causality, and to consider the ways in which time and human experience may be far more intricate than we can easily perceive. Natural anomalies further enhance this sense of temporal wonder. Certain locations exhibit magnetic or gravitational oddities that seem to distort perception, causing compasses to spin erratically or creating sensations of disorientation that defy conventional explanation. Ancient cultures may have been aware of such places, often weaving them into myths or spiritual practices. The intersection of natural anomaly and human perception suggests that our experience of time and space is intertwined with forces we do not fully understand. By reflecting on these phenomena, we are invited into a gentle contemplation of the subtle ways the universe shapes experience. Artifacts themselves sometimes appear to carry traces of temporal mystery. Items that should not exist in certain eras, inscriptions that predate their supposed creators, and structures that seem impossibly advanced all raise questions about chronology and human understanding. These objects challenge the assumptions that we rely on to construct coherent histories, encouraging us to embrace uncertainty and imagine a broader spectrum of possibilities. In their presence, the mind drifts naturally toward speculation, not as a demand for answers, but as a quiet exploration of what might lie beyond our conventional understanding of time. Even the smallest details can hint at the extraordinary. An unusual alignment of stones, a seemingly anachronistic design in a tool, or an account of events that do not match recorded timelines all contribute to a subtle tapestry of mystery. These details require patience, careful observation, and a willingness to sit with ambiguity. They allow the imagination to wander gently, to consider patterns, and to ponder how time itself might sometimes fold, stretch, or reveal hidden layers that challenge what we take for granted. As we consider these time-bending phenomena, it becomes clear that the human fascination with time is both practical and philosophical. Ancient civilizations sought to understand the heavens, to measure the cycles of nature, and to record events in ways that would preserve knowledge for future generations. At the same time, they seemed aware that some mysteries are best left ungrasped, that the subtle play of time may contain insights inaccessible to ordinary understanding. This duality, the drive to measure and the recognition of mystery, creates a rich, contemplative space for the mind to explore. Ultimately, time-bending phenomena remind us that the universe may be more fluid, layered, and mysterious than we often assume. They invite quiet reflection, encouraging us to dwell in curiosity rather than certainty. By exploring anomalies in history, nature, and human experience, we open ourselves to a deeper understanding of the world, one that values subtlety, patience, and imagination. And as we leave this chapter of exploration, we carry forward a sense of wonder and anticipation, ready to encounter the individuals, inventions, and hidden knowledge that await in the next stages of our journey through the impossible. Throughout history, certain individuals have emerged whose lives and achievements seem to straddle the line between the ordinary and the extraordinary. These are figures who, through insight, innovation, or sheer presence, shape the course of events in ways that continue to puzzle and inspire us. Some left behind tangible creations, others whispers in manuscripts or fleeting mentions in chronicles. Yet, despite the fragments they left behind, their influence persists, casting a quiet aura of mystery that invites reflection and imagination. As we explore their stories, we are drawn into a realm where human capability seems to expand, where the boundaries of possibility stretch beyond conventional understanding, and where the past and the enigmatic intersect. Consider inventors and engineers whose work anticipated future technologies. There are accounts of individuals who created devices centuries ahead of their time, mechanisms described in texts long before the scientific principles behind them were formally documented. Some designed intricate automata, moving machines powered by hidden mechanisms that astonish modern observers. Others sketched ideas resembling modern flying machines or complex devices that resemble computers in rudimentary form. These glimpses into innovation challenge our assumptions about the progression of human knowledge, suggesting that ingenuity is not always linear and that brilliance can emerge independently, appearing almost like a gift from the future itself. Visionaries and mystics also occupy this realm of subtle mystery. Across cultures, there are figures reputed to possess extraordinary insight, prophets, seers, or philosophers whose observations of the world seemed uncannily accurate, even prescient. Their writings and teachings often intertwine practical advice with enigmatic statements about the cosmos, human nature, or the unseen forces that guide life. While some of their words may be allegorical or symbolic, others hint at understanding that transcends conventional knowledge. In contemplating these lives, we sense a quiet tension between the known and the unknown, a space where human potential and mystery converge in ways that are both inspiring and humbling. Explorers and travelers, too, sometimes defy easy explanation. Those who ventured into distant lands, charting territories previously unknown to their contemporaries, often returned with accounts of remarkable phenomena, strange customs, or technologies beyond their own cultures. Some of their discoveries seem improbably accurate, even when retold centuries later. In certain cases, these explorers brought knowledge back that influenced entire civilizations, yet the methods by which they obtained such insights remain obscure. These stories suggest that individual curiosity and courage can illuminate paths that might otherwise remain hidden, bridging the familiar and the extraordinary. Certain rulers and leaders also left legacies tinged with mystery. Their policies, constructions, or cultural influence sometimes reflect a wisdom or foresight that seems ahead of their time. The alignment of palaces with celestial events, the orchestration of monumental projects, or the fostering of knowledge and innovation in ways that shaped entire societies speaks to a vision that blends practical governance with profound insight. While historical records provide only glimpses, the cumulative effect is a sense of deliberate intention and remarkable understanding, leaving behind subtle, almost imperceptible clues to their thinking. The resonance of these leaders endures, a quiet testament to the power of foresight and influence across generations. Even those whose lives ended in obscurity can leave traces that ripple through history. Inventors, scholars, or spiritual figures whose work was forgotten, suppressed, or overlooked may be rediscovered centuries later, revealing insights that appear strikingly advanced for their era. These rediscoveries remind us that history is not a simple narrative of progress, but a layered tapestry where brilliance can emerge, vanish, and re-emerge in surprising ways. Each recovered fragment of knowledge becomes a bridge between past and present, allowing us to glimpse the minds capable of extraordinary thought long before their contemporaries could recognize it. The quiet fascination with such figures arises not only from their achievements, but from the aura of mystery surrounding them. Some lived lives deliberately shrouded in secrecy, leaving records that are incomplete, ambiguous, or encoded in symbolic language. Others' accomplishments were so remarkable that contemporaries struggled to explain them, giving rise to legends, myths, and speculation. By tracing these stories, we are invited to inhabit a space where the imagination and historical evidence coexist, where curiosity is not a demand for certainty, but a gentle meditation on the possibilities inherent in human potential. In many cases, the extraordinary nature of these individuals is amplified by the contrast between their abilities and the limitations of their time. They operated without the technology, information networks, or scientific frameworks that we take for granted today. Yet through observation, experimentation, intuition, and creativity, they accomplished feats that often seem impossible when viewed through the lens of historical context. This juxtaposition, the known constraints of their era against the apparent reach of their achievements, creates a subtle tension that captivates the mind and invites slow, contemplative exploration. Legends surrounding these figures often blend historical fact with narrative flourish, creating stories that are at once factual and enigmatic. Their lives suggest that mystery is not only found in objects, locations, or phenomena, but also in the actions, thoughts, and visions of human beings. By studying these individuals, we come to understand that history is shaped not only by events, but by the minds that interpret, manipulate, and sometimes transcend them. Their stories encourage us to consider what might be possible when curiosity, insight, and courage intersect in ways that defy conventional expectations. Ultimately, the lives of such figures serve as a bridge between the concrete and the impossible. They demonstrate that human ingenuity, vision, and creativity are not bound by the limits of their environment or era. Through them, we sense the presence of forces, intellectual, imaginative, and intuitive, that can transcend ordinary understanding. By reflecting on their achievements, we cultivate a quiet admiration and a gentle curiosity, preparing our minds for the next layer of mystery, the hidden codes, symbols, and messages that civilizations left behind, which may hold further insights into the depth and subtlety of human knowledge. As we leave this exploration of remarkable individuals, we carry forward a sense of wonder and possibility. Each story, each achievement, is a quiet invitation to consider the extraordinary potential of the human mind and to recognize that mystery is not only found in the distant past, in artifacts or monuments, but also in the very people who shaped history. Their lives linger like soft echoes, guiding us gently toward the next chapter of our journey, where symbols, inscriptions, and hidden messages await discovery, inviting us to unravel the subtle secrets they encode across time and space. There are nights when the earth seems to whisper in light, flickers that drift across mountain valleys, spheres of color that float through storms, and pulses that vanish the moment one dares to look directly. The world, so solid and measurable by day, becomes a dream of quiet, glowing impossibilities by night. For centuries, travelers, scientists, and wanderers alike have looked up and seen lights that should not be there. They hang in the air like living thoughts, drifting just beyond explanation. Long before electricity or satellites, shepherds and sailors spoke of orbs that danced along the horizon. In the lonely fields of Norway's Hestalen Valley, witnesses still describe hovering lights that glow blue, yellow, or white, moving in silent arcs before fading into the darkness. These are not brief meteor trails or distant aircraft. They are patient, pulsing, as if aware of the eyes that watch them. Cameras have captured them. Sensors have recorded their presence, yet their cause remains elusive. Some scientists suggest plasma, a curious mix of charged particles, perhaps created by the valley's unique geology. But even those who study them closely admit that no single answer fits every sighting. In North Carolina, another phenomenon repeats itself, the Brown Mountain Lights. For generations, locals and travelers have climbed the ridges to watch pale spheres float and flicker above the treeline. They drift, divide, and merge again like luminous spirits wandering the border between worlds. The earliest records date back to indigenous Cherokee stories, which spoke of ghostly maidens searching for lost warriors. Later, Settlers told of miners who perished underground, their souls now marking the mountain with lantern light. Modern observers bring cameras, drones, and instruments, yet the lights still appear without pattern, a quiet defiance of our need to classify. Scientists have tried to capture their essence. Some blame pockets of gas ignited by static discharges. Others point to headlights refracted through layers of air and mist. Yet those who stand there at night, beneath the deep sky and the hum of crickets, know the feeling that science cannot measure, the way the lights seem alive. They move with intention, pausing as if in thought, then gliding onward, indifferent to the human need for certainty. Then there is the ancient and unpredictable visitor known as ball lightning. For centuries, sailors told stories of spheres of fire that appeared inside ships during storms, rolling across decks without burning wood or skin. Some dismissed them as hallucinations born of fear and lightning flashes. But in 1638, a church in Devon, England, was struck by lightning during a thunderstorm. Witnesses described a glowing ball entering through a window, moving through the nave, and exploding with a deafening crack, leaving the smell of sulfur behind. The incident left people dead and others injured, their clothing burned but their skin untouched. In modern times, pilots, physicists, and even astronauts have reported similar phenomena, small, floating orbs of light appearing during electrical storms, hovering briefly before vanishing into the air. Ball lightning has even been observed passing through closed windows, a detail that makes the rational mind stumble. Laboratory experiments have recreated flashes that behave like ball lightning, yet even with modern instruments, no one fully understands what they are. The impossible still hums quietly inside the thundercloud. Each story, each observation, folds into a single truth. Our planet glows in ways we cannot entirely predict. In some remote corners of the world, like Marfa, Texas, or Min Min in Australia, the landscape itself seems to breathe with strange illumination. The Marfa lights appear along a lonely desert highway, pale orbs that hover, divide, and vanish. Skeptics say headlights or distant campfires, but locals have watched them for over a century, long before cars ever drove that road. The Min Min lights, too, move in patterns that defy easy categorization. Travelers who chase them report the orbs receding like intelligent companions, always staying just out of reach. Across cultures, such lights are never merely seen, they are felt. They stir something quiet inside us, a sense that the earth itself is aware, or perhaps that reality is thinner than it seems. They blur the line between the natural and the supernatural, between physics and folklore. In the soft hours of night, these glows become mirrors for our longing to understand. Even now, researchers return to the Hestalen Valley each winter with advanced cameras and instruments. They record electromagnetic pulses, bursts of radiation, and sudden appearances of spherical light, some lasting seconds, others minutes. The data piles higher each year, and yet the core mystery persists. The lights are real, measurable, photographable, and still, they refuse to behave according to any law we know. They flicker on, like reminders that the world is not finished revealing itself. Perhaps the truth is simpler or more complex than we imagine. Perhaps what we call mystery lights are not messages or miracles, but glimpses of a deeper pattern in nature, flashes from dimensions of energy our senses are not yet tuned to perceive. Or perhaps there's something older, a living resonance between earth and sky, replaying ancient memories in electromagnetic form. What draws us to them is not only curiosity, but recognition. We see in those hovering lights a reflection of our own search, to find meaning in the spaces that science has not yet mapped. The lights remind us that understanding and wonder need not be opposites, that the universe, even when charted and measured, can still glow with something softly, defiantly impossible. And as the orbs fade, as the night deepens and silence returns to the mountains, we are left with a choice. We can explain them away, or we can simply watch, content to know that not every question requires an answer. For in a world increasingly defined by certainty, perhaps the most beautiful thing left is the flicker that refuses to be named, glowing quietly in the dark. The next story turns from the mysterious lights above us to the impossible anomalies among us, not in the sky, but in the strange cases of people who themselves defy explanation. There are stories that feel like dreams, half-remembered but persistent, tales that slip between fact and fiction, yet refuse to die. Among the most haunting is that of the man who should not have existed, a traveler who appeared one summer day in 1954 at Tokyo's Haneda Airport. He carried himself with calm precision, dressed in a gray suit, holding a briefcase and a passport. Nothing extraordinary. But when the customs officers inspected his documents, the world briefly bent out of shape. His passport was from a country no one had ever heard of. Its name was Taured. The passport looked authentic, filled with stamps, visas, and travel records. It showed that he had previously visited Japan several times. He spoke fluent French and claimed his homeland lay between France and Spain. When officials pointed to the map, he grew irritated, insisting that Taured had existed for over 1,000 years, right where the small nation of Andorra sits. He could not understand why the officers were questioning him. To him, they were mistaken. They took him aside for further questioning. His wallet contained currency from multiple European countries, suggesting a seasoned traveler. His documents appeared legitimate. Even his driver's license matched the mysterious nationality. The company he claimed to represent confirmed that they expected a visitor from his firm, but that no one by his name worked there. The hotel he said he had booked in Tokyo acknowledged receiving a reservation from someone of his description, but it had been canceled that morning. Every piece of evidence seemed both real and impossible, each clue pulling the mystery tighter instead of unraveling it. Night fell, and authorities, unsure what else to do, placed him in a secure hotel room under guard while they investigated further. The room was on an upper floor, with no accessible balcony and only one locked door. 2 guards remained outside the entire night. Yet when morning came and officials opened the door, the room was empty. His passport, identification, and personal papers had vanished with him. No sign of struggle, no broken window, no trace. The man from Taured was gone, as if he had stepped back into whatever place he had come from. The story spread quietly, first through whispers among airport staff, then through investigators and journalists. Some claimed to have seen the official documents. Others dismissed it as a myth. But what gives the story its staying power is not proof, but possibility. It is the idea that, in the rigid order of our world, with its borders, maps, and records, there might still be fractures through which something inexplicable can slip. Skeptics have offered explanations. Some say it was a misunderstanding, a mispronunciation of Andorra, perhaps, or a clever hoax that grew over time. Others believe the tale was born from misreported details of a similar event. Yet there are those who find in it something deeper, the faint evidence of parallel worlds, of dimensions brushing against one another like pages in a book. If there are infinite versions of our universe, each slightly different, then perhaps there are also travelers between them, people who, by accident or design, fall through the cracks of reality. The man from Taured might have belonged to a world almost identical to ours, where history unfolded just slightly differently. To him, we were the strange ones. To him, our world was the impossibility. There are other stories that echo this one, scattered across time and geography. In the 19th century, a man was found wandering in Germany, speaking a language no one could identify and claiming to come from a country called Laxaria. His words were unintelligible, his manner calm, his confusion genuine. In the 1950s, a woman appeared in Tokyo with a passport from a non-existent nation called Carmania. Officials investigated, but the details soon dissolved into rumor. These accounts, true or not, all touch the same chord, the uneasy sense that identity itself may not be as fixed as we believe. The power of the Taured story lies in its ordinariness. There are no UFOs, no miracles, no divine intervention, just a man in a suit, standing politely before a customs officer, confused by the world's refusal to recognize him. It is the kind of impossibility that feels plausible, which makes it even more unsettling. There is something haunting about bureaucratic mystery. The quiet fluorescent room, the paper files, the stamps of authority, all unable to categorize a human being who should not exist. And so the man from Taured becomes a symbol. He represents the thinness of our reality, the fragile confidence we place in facts and borders. For a moment, the map failed. For a moment, the entire concept of nationality and history came undone in the hands of an airport clerk. And then, as silently as he arrived, he was gone, leaving only a story that travels further each year. The calm tone of the account, the absence of spectacle, is what makes it endure. It whispers rather than shouts. It invites listeners to imagine standing in that airport themselves, watching as logic frays. Could it happen again? Could someone, somewhere, appear tomorrow from a place no one remembers? A version of Earth that diverged just slightly from our own? In the quiet between explanation and wonder lies the beauty of such mysteries. Whether real or imagined, they remind us that our world is not entirely closed. The man from Taured may be nothing more than a myth born of confusion, or he may be a traveler who momentarily crossed the threshold between two overlapping realities. If that is true, then he may not be alone. Perhaps there are others, lost among us, carrying documents that do not match our world, speaking of cities that never existed here. Perhaps we pass them in airports, in train stations, in the anonymous flow of travelers who all seem to belong. The story ends where it began, in the stillness of a summer day at Haneda Airport, with the hum of planes and the murmur of travelers. A man steps forward, places his passport on the counter, and waits. The officer examines it, frowns slightly, and hesitates. The world holds its breath for a moment, teetering between fact and impossibility. Then, as always, it returns to order. The light flickers, the line moves on, and the mystery slips quietly back into history's long corridor. From this tale of a man who vanished between realities, the story now turns to another impossibility. Not a traveler lost in space, but a ship said to have disappeared through time itself. There are stories that seem too cinematic to be true, too strange to belong to the rational world. And yet they linger, decade after decade, as if daring us to dismiss them. One of the most haunting among them is the tale of the Philadelphia experiment, a supposed wartime experiment that tried to do the impossible, make a ship disappear. It is a story born from whispers in dockyards, from classified rumors passed between sailors, and from the eerie glow of a military secret that still refuses to fade. The story begins in the summer of 1943 at the height of World War II. The U.S. Navy was desperate for technological advantage. Submarines prowled the Atlantic, sinking convoys with precision. Somewhere in the Philadelphia Naval Shipyard, a destroyer escort called the USS Eldridge was being fitted with experimental equipment. Massive generators, strange coils of copper, and devices said to manipulate magnetic fields. The goal, according to the legend, was to render the ship invisible to radar, a cloaking technology decades ahead of its time. But something went wrong. Witnesses, as the story goes, claimed that during the test, the air around the ship shimmered with greenish light. Then the Eldridge began to fade. In an instant, it vanished, not just from sight, but from the harbor itself. Moments later, it reappeared hundreds of miles away, in Norfolk, Virginia, before returning just as suddenly to Philadelphia. When it did, chaos awaited. Sailors were found disoriented, sick, and terrified. Some, the story claims, were fused into the metal of the ship, their bodies half embedded in steel, screaming or dead. Others vanished completely. A few reappeared days later, incoherent and afraid of light. It is a story made of horror and wonder, of science reaching too far. The official Navy records, of course, deny that anything of the sort ever happened. The Eldridge, they say, was safely in service throughout the war, never subjected to invisibility tests of any kind. Yet the legend persists, fed by fragments of witness accounts and the unshakable belief that the government knows more than it admits. Much of the tale traces back to a man named Carl Allen, or Carlos Allende. In the 1950s, began sending letters to scientists and officials describing what he had seen. He claimed to have witnessed the experiment from a nearby ship, the SS Andrew Furuseth, and that he saw the Eldridge vanish in a strange mist of electromagnetic energy. He spoke of teleportation, of fields powerful enough to bend time and space. He described sailors driven mad, their molecules displaced by forces they could not comprehend. Skeptics dismissed him as delusional. His letters were rambling, filled with strange references to Einstein's unified field theory, a concept even mainstream science had not yet developed. But in the quiet corridors of classified research, some details of his story resonated uneasily. The military had experimented with magnetic field manipulation for radar evasion. The Navy did have classified projects involving electromagnetic camouflage. So, if not the entire story, could there have been a kernel of truth buried beneath the legend? Those who believe point to coincidences. They note that Einstein had indeed been consulting for the Navy during that era. They speak of degaussing, a real process that used magnetic coils to make ships less detectable to magnetic mines, as the seed for which a myth could grow. But perhaps, they suggest, someone took the idea further too far. Others look to the broader patterns of mid-century secrecy. The Manhattan Project, for example, was hidden in plain sight, a scientific impossibility that became terrifyingly real. Could another such project, smaller, stranger, have been quietly buried beneath official denials? The story fits perfectly into that uneasy time when humanity was beginning to manipulate forces it barely understood, and when science itself felt like a kind of magic. If the Philadelphia experiment never happened, why does it still captivate? Perhaps because it touches the deepest of human fears, that in our pursuit of control, we might tear the fabric of reality itself. The image of sailors fused into metal, of men erased from time, carries a symbolic weight. It speaks to the cost of curiosity, that sometimes discovery demands too high a price. Eyewitness accounts, often secondhand, often contradictory, describe the same haunting image: a green glow, a magnetic hum, the sudden absence of a warship that should have been there. Some versions even claim that after the experiment, crew members would vanish for minutes at a time, slipping in and out of visibility, as though untethered from the present moment. To some, this was proof of temporal distortion, evidence that the Eldridge had not merely disappeared from space, but from time itself. Later conspiracy theories built upon the myth, weaving it into a web of government cover-ups and parallel experiments. Some connected it to the Montauk Project of the 1980s, alleged secret tests in time travel and mind control. The idea was irresistible, that the Philadelphia experiment was the first crack in reality, an experiment that opened doors that should have remained closed. But perhaps the true mystery lies not in what happened, but in why the story endures. In the decades since, scientists have repeatedly demonstrated that invisibility of the kind described would require manipulating light and gravity on scales beyond our reach, even today. The legend persists not because it is plausible, but because it is possible in imagination, because it resonates with our collective fascination with what might be. There's something poetic in the way the story moves, from wartime necessity to metaphysical dread. It begins with radar and ends with the bending of space-time. It reminds us how thin the line is between innovation and catastrophe. Whether the experiment was a myth born from misunderstanding or a veiled truth too dangerous to reveal, it reflects a timeless theme, that our hunger to control the unseen always comes with risk. If you stand today at the Philadelphia Naval Yard, the air feels ordinary, the docks quiet. The water laps against the pilings, seagulls circle in lazy arcs. There is no trace of the impossible, no hum of hidden machines, no shimmer of bent light. And yet, for those who know the story, the silence feels heavy, as if the past is still folded beneath the surface, waiting. Perhaps that is what all legends of the impossible are, echoes of our deepest experiments with meaning. Whether born of fear, error, or revelation, they remind us that mystery has always traveled alongside progress. The USS Eldridge may never have vanished, but the idea that it could have still glows in the human imagination like a faint, unearthly light on calm water. From the uncertain depths of wartime secrecy, the story now turns toward a quieter but stranger frontier. Not hidden ships or vanishing men, but the strange mathematics of reality itself, where the laws of physics begin to blur and the impossible becomes measurable. In every age, humanity reaches a point where knowledge feels like magic, where the numbers on a blackboard seem to whisper secrets older than stars. In those moments, science becomes poetry and equations turn into doorways. This is the realm where reality begins to question itself, where the possible and the impossible blur into one. It is here, at the trembling edge of physics, that the universe reveals its strangest face. Modern science, for all its precision and certainty, is built upon mysteries that it cannot fully explain. Every atom, every particle, behaves according to laws that we understand only in fragments. The further we look into the vastness of galaxies or the minuteness of quantum space, the more we find that existence is not solid, but shimmering. It is a dance of probability, a symphony of unseen forces. What we call laws of nature may only be the surface patterns of something deeper, something that should not even be possible, and yet simply is. At the heart of that mystery lies quantum entanglement, a phenomenon so strange that even Albert Einstein refused to accept it. He called it spooky action at a distance. Two particles, created together, can remain connected even when separated by vast distances. When one changes, the other responds instantly, as though distance itself does not exist. No signal travels between them, no known force connects them, and yet their fates are intertwined. It's as if the universe keeps certain relationships hidden beneath the fabric of space-time, quietly mocking our notions of separation. Experiments have proven this beyond doubt. Photons entangled in laboratories on opposite sides of the planet react to each other as if they were one. In 2017, Chinese physicists demonstrated entanglement between a ground station and a satellite orbiting hundreds of miles above Earth. No delay, no visible connection, just a silent echo of unity that defies everything we think we know about cause and effect. It challenges our most fundamental assumptions about space, time, and individuality. What does this mean? Some physicists suggest that the entire universe might be entangled, that everything, from the smallest particle to the largest galaxy, is part of one vast, interconnected field. What happens in one corner of reality might ripple across all of existence. Others interpret it philosophically. Perhaps consciousness itself is woven into this hidden network, binding observer and observe in ways we cannot yet measure. From entanglement, the trail leads naturally to the even stranger idea of the simulation hypothesis, the possibility that our entire universe might be an artificial construct, a program running within an unimaginably advanced system. It began as a thought experiment among philosophers and physicists, but has gained surprising traction among serious thinkers. The logic is unsettlingly simple. If intelligent life ever develops the ability to simulate consciousness within computers, then statistically, there would be countless simulated worlds for every real one. In that case, the odds that we ourselves are inside one of those simulations become overwhelming. Evidence for such an idea is, of course, elusive. Yet, there are mathematical coincidences that seem almost too perfect. The constants of physics, the fine structure constant, the gravitational balance, the charge of the electron, are tuned with eerie precision. If any of these values were even slightly different, stars would not form, life could not exist, and the cosmos would collapse into chaos. To some, this is proof of divine design. To others, it suggests that our universe might be one of many, a simulation carefully calibrated for stability. Scientists at Fermilab once proposed an experiment to test this idea by searching for pixelation in space-time itself, a kind of cosmic resolution limit, as if reality were composed of discrete points of data. Though inconclusive, the effort reveals how far modern science has wandered into philosophical territory. The lines between physics, metaphysics, and imagination have never been thinner. And yet, even these mind-bending concepts pale before one of the oldest and most haunting mysteries in all of science: the question of why the universe exists at all. The equations that describe our cosmos, from quantum fields to general relativity, are balanced on the edge of nothingness. Matter and antimatter should have annihilated each other in the first moments after the Big Bang. The universe should have blinked out of existence almost as soon as it began. But it didn't. Something, somehow, broke the symmetry, allowing creation to endure. That imbalance, a fraction of a fraction, is the reason you, I, and everything we know exists. Physicists have spent decades searching for that missing explanation. Some believe hidden particles tipped the balance. Others whisper of multiverses, countless realities branching from the same moment of birth, some with slightly different laws, others completely alien. In those unseen universes, perhaps the impossible becomes ordinary. Gravity may push instead of pull. Time may flow backward. Life may exist as patterns of plasma or sound. Every new theory widens the horizon, reminding us that the impossible is often just the next chapter waiting to be written. The deeper scientists probe, the more paradoxes they encounter. Time itself, once thought to be a simple arrow moving forward, begins to wobble under scrutiny. Experiments in quantum mechanics show that the act of observation can change outcomes, that the future, in some way, influences the past. In certain interpretations, a particle exists in every possible state until it is observed. Reality does not choose until we look. Does that mean consciousness participates in creation itself? That the universe requires an observer to exist? If so, then perhaps we are not mere inhabitants of the cosmos, but active participants in its unfolding, storytellers shaping the very story we seek to understand. There's a quiet irony in this. As science advances, it circles closer to the ancient truths once expressed through myth and mysticism, that all things are one, that reality is illusion, that creation and perception are inseparable. What once sounded like poetry now echoes faintly through equations and data. The quantum realm humbles us, reminding us that knowledge and mystery are not enemies, but partners in the same dance. Even Einstein, who sought clarity above all, could not resist the allure of mystery. He wrote, "The most beautiful thing we can experience is the mysterious. It is the source of all true art and science." The impossible, in this sense, becomes not an obstacle, but an invitation, a reminder that reality's greatest truths are often hidden in plain sight, disguised as paradox. Perhaps the real miracle is not that the universe obeys laws, but that those laws are comprehensible at all. Why should mathematics, an invention of human thought, describe the structure of galaxies and the trembling of atoms with such precision? It's as if the universe speaks a language we were born already knowing, one that whispers, "You are part of this, too." And so, the physicists continue, staring into equations that describe universes beyond number, trying to reconcile quantum chaos with cosmic order. The closer they come, the more impossible the truth seems. Space may not be empty. Time may not be linear. Existence may not be singular. Everything might be information, consciousness wrapped in code, reality humming with infinite echoes of itself. In the stillness of night, one might imagine the entire universe as a thought, dreamed by something vast and aware. Perhaps we are that thought, unfolding moment by moment, exploring ourselves through the illusion of distance. What makes these ideas powerful is not whether they are proven, but the way they expand the boundaries of wonder. Each discovery reveals not how much we know, but how much we don't. The impossible keeps us reaching, imagining, dreaming. It is the silent companion of progress, the reminder that even as our machines grow more precise, the universe will always remain, at its core, a beautiful enigma. And so, from the invisible fields that bind the cosmos to the quiet hum of atoms in our bones, the impossible surrounds us. We live inside it. We're made of it. Every heartbeat, every breath, is a small defiance of entropy, a local reversal of the universe's drift toward disorder. Against all odds, consciousness has emerged from chaos to look back and ask, why? Perhaps there will come a day when equations no longer suffice, when scientists and poets must speak together to describe what the universe truly is. Until then, we remain wanderers at the edge of understanding, staring into the dark, watching it shimmer. As the laws of physics bend toward wonder, the story now turns inward, from the machinery of the cosmos to the machinery of the mind, exploring how dreams, visions, and the unseen depths of human consciousness might echo the same impossible patterns. There are frontiers not marked by stars or equations, but by the landscape of the mind itself. After all the laboratories fall silent and the telescopes close their eyes, there remains another mystery, the one that begins each night when we sleep. Within the soft darkness of dreaming, reality bends with the same impossible logic that governs quantum space. Time stretches, places merge, and people long gone return as if no years have passed. The dream is a private universe, yet strangely familiar, as though each of us visits the same hidden realm in different disguises. For as long as humans have existed, dreams have been considered messages from gods, from the dead, or from the deep well of the soul. In ancient temples of Greece, seekers would sleep in sacred chambers, hoping that healing visions would come. Pharaohs recorded their dreams as prophecies, and philosophers wondered whether waking life itself might be another kind of dream. Even now, when we map the brain and speak of REM cycles and neural firings, we cannot explain why dreams carry emotions so vividly, or why they sometimes predict events yet to happen. Throughout history, there have been accounts of dreams that changed the course of lives or of nations. Abraham Lincoln dreamt of his own death days before it occurred. Many inventors, from Nikola Tesla to Elias Howe, claimed that their greatest insights came not from conscious reasoning, but from images that appeared while half asleep. Musicians have heard melodies in dreams that they later composed note for note upon waking. Science describes these as coincidences or products of a mind working subconsciously, yet something in the pattern feels older, more deliberate. Carl Jung, the Swiss psychiatrist, suggested that dreams were not random at all. He believed that beneath the personal mind lies a collective unconscious, a shared sea of symbols, myths, and emotions connecting every human being across time. When we dream, we draw from that vast ocean, pulling images that have no single author. A mountain in your dream, a serpent in mine, both may rise from the same ancient source. It is an idea both humbling and comforting, that deep inside, the boundary between I and we dissolves. Some scientists, cautiously, have begun to revisit the possibility that consciousness is not a byproduct of the brain, but a fundamental property of the universe, like gravity or light. In that view, the mind is not a generator of thought, but a receiver, tuning into the frequencies of existence. Dreams, then, could be moments when the signal clears, when we hear the static between realities. If that is true, then premonitions, shared visions, and déjà vu might not be anomalies, but glimpses through cracks in the veil. There are countless stories of people dreaming of disasters or deaths before they happen. Coincidences, perhaps, but persistent ones. Science demands evidence, and none of these accounts prove that time can flow backward through the mind. Yet the emotional truth of these moments feels undeniable. A mother who dreams her child is in danger wakes in panic, only to find the child feverish. A man dreams of an accident, changes his route the next morning, and narrowly avoids it. Are these accidents of pattern recognition or echoes from a deeper layer of awareness? The tone of such questions is not frantic but reverent. For in dreams, we encounter what reason cannot contain. We meet our fears, our memories, our forgotten selves, and sometimes something beyond them. Many cultures describe lucid dreams as doorways, opportunities to look behind the curtain of reality. In those moments of clarity, when a dreamer realizes they are dreaming, the laws of the world bend to thought. One can fly, revisit the dead, or rewrite sorrow into peace. The experience feels more true than waking life. Perhaps, at that level, reality is not fixed at all, but responsive, as pliant as imagination. When morning comes, the dream slips away, leaving behind fragments that glow faintly like embers. We call them symbols, omens, nonsense, but perhaps they are messages written in a language we have yet to remember. In every dream, a small piece of the impossible survives, reminding us that the mind itself may be a cosmos without borders. And so, as night gives way to dawn, the question lingers: what if every dream is a rehearsal for another kind of existence? What if the impossible worlds we build each night are not illusions, but reflections, quiet rehearsals of realities waiting to be born? From the silent theater of the mind, the story now drifts back into the waking world, to those rare people whose lives seem to break the limits of nature itself. Healers, saints, and visionaries whose very existence seems to bend the laws we live by. Across centuries and continents, there have always been people whose lives seem to hum with a strange, impossible energy. They appear in every culture: healers who cure without medicine, monks who radiate light, children who remember lives they could not have lived. Their stories linger on the edges of history, too consistent to dismiss, too mysterious to fully believe. They are the living paradoxes, walking proof that the boundary between myth and reality might be thinner than we imagine. In ancient texts, they were called saints or sages, those who touched something divine and carried its echo within them. They fasted for weeks without weakening, survived fire and cold unharmed, or spoke words that changed the hearts of thousands. In the deserts of Egypt, early Christian hermits were said to heal the sick with a single glance. In India, yogis were described as slowing their heartbeats to a stillness that lasted hours, their bodies suspended between life and death. Skeptics call these exaggerations, but in modern times, scientists have documented phenomena that still defy explanation. One famous case occurred in the 1980s, when Western researchers studied Tibetan monks practicing tummo meditation, a technique of generating inner heat. Wrapped in wet sheets in a freezing Himalayan monastery, these monks could raise their body temperature enough to make steam rise from their robes. Their pulse slowed, their breathing almost ceased, yet they remained fully conscious. Modern instruments confirmed the temperature change. The monks simply smiled, explaining that they were merely reminding the body of its fire. Stories like these invite a humbling question: have we truly reached the limits of human potential, or have we merely forgotten how vast those limits are? Another kind of miracle takes subtler form: the phenomenon of spontaneous healing. Across decades of medical records, there are documented cases of patients whose terminal illnesses vanished without explanation. Tumors dissolving, damaged organs regenerating, infections fading overnight. Science labels such events as spontaneous remission, a term that explains nothing but acknowledges that the impossible occasionally happens. Some researchers have found that these healings often follow moments of deep emotional surrender, an acceptance so complete that fear disappears. It's as if the body, freed from the mind's resistance, suddenly remembers how to repair itself. In many spiritual traditions, this is seen not as magic, but as alignment, a state where consciousness and matter resonate in harmony. The healer does not cause the cure. They become a channel through which balance is restored. Energy, attention, belief, these intangible forces might shape the tangible more than we realize. Quantum physics, in its own quiet way, hints at something similar, that the observer influences the observed, that intention may have measurable impact. The parallels between mystic practice and modern theory are eerie, as though science is slowly rediscovering what ancient minds already knew in symbolic language. The 20th century offered its own share of wonderworkers. Take, for example, Edgar Cayce, the sleeping prophet. While in a self-induced trance, Cayce delivered thousands of readings about health, lost civilizations, and even future events. Many of his medical prescriptions later proved effective, long before they were verified by science. He had no training, no knowledge in his waking state of the complex anatomy or rare diseases he described. Whether he accessed a collective unconscious, as Jung might suggest, or something beyond human comprehension, remains unknown. Then there are children, small voices from the world's corners who recall other lives in vivid, verifiable detail. A boy in India who remembered the village, the wife, and even the manner of death from his supposed previous existence. Investigators confirmed many of his claims, though he was too young to have learned them. In cultures where reincarnation is part of the worldview, such accounts are accepted with calm curiosity. But even among Western researchers, the phenomenon has drawn attention. Dr. Ian Stevenson of the University of Virginia documented over 2,000 such cases with startling consistency. His conclusion was cautious but provocative. Consciousness may not end where the body does. Across traditions, the pattern repeats. Mystics who defy hunger, healers who mend with touch, prophets who dream events before they happen. Whether divine intervention, untapped human capacity, or something altogether different, these stories point toward an unsettling possibility that the laws of reality might be flexible, responding to levels of awareness we scarcely understand. Consider the miracle workers of medieval Europe, figures like Saint Francis of Assisi, whose wounds mirrored those of Christ, or Saint Catherine of Siena, said to survive solely on the Eucharist for years. Such claims invite skepticism, and rightly so, but even the skeptical must confront the consistent testimonies of witnesses who had nothing to gain. For those living at the time, these figures embodied the bridge between heaven and earth, living evidence that divinity could move through human flesh. In the East, stories of cities, extraordinary powers attained through meditation, describe abilities like levitation, telepathy, or appearing in two places at once. The Hindu sage Shirdi Sai Baba, revered in the late 19th century, was reportedly seen in different towns on the same day. Devotees believed he transcended the normal constraints of space and time. Whether literal or symbolic, the power of such narratives lies in what they suggest, that the boundaries we take for granted may be illusions of perception. Even in our modern world, stripped of myth and heavy with data, strange phenomena persist. Studies on near-death experiences show remarkable consistency across cultures and ages. People clinically dead for minutes describe tunnels of light, overwhelming peace, and encounters with beings or relatives who have passed. Many return with knowledge or perceptions they could not have gained by ordinary means. To scientists, these might be hallucinations triggered by oxygen deprivation. To those who live them, they are more real than reality itself. What is most striking about all these cases, ancient or modern, sacred or secular, is the same undertone: transformation. Whether it is a healer in a Himalayan cave, a monk generating heat, or a doctor witnessing a recovery that defies medicine, each moment speaks of consciousness surpassing its supposed limits. It suggests that perhaps the impossible is not an external event, but a state of awareness, a reminder that the world we experience is woven not just of matter, but of meaning. There is, in the quiet telling of these stories, a kind of calm reverence, not a demand to believe, but an invitation to wonder, to see that even in a century ruled by logic and measurement, miracles have not vanished. They have simply changed form. They now appear as anomalies in data, as whispers in hospitals, as moments when someone's eyes fill with unexplainable light. Perhaps the lesson is not that such people break the laws of nature, but that they live close enough to truth to remind us those laws are far more fluid than we dare to imagine. And when we think of them, the monk in the cold, the healer in silence, the child who remembers another life, we are reminded that humanity itself is unfinished. Evolution may not only shape bodies, but consciousness. We may still be becoming something we cannot yet name. As these living mysteries fade back into the folds of time, the path leads toward the unknown landscapes of the future, where technology, artificial intelligence, and cosmic exploration might unlock the next generation of impossibilities, blurring forever the line between creator and creation. The age of wonder has not ended. It has simply changed its form. Where once humanity sought the divine in temples and stars, it now searches within circuits and code. Artificial intelligence, quantum computing, and genetic design are no longer dreams of the distant future. They are the mirrors in which we now see ourselves. Each new creation brings us closer to understanding, and yet also closer to mystery. When a machine learns to write, to paint, to reason, something ancient stirs within us, a recognition that the spark of awareness may not belong to humans alone. If consciousness can arise from complexity, then perhaps the universe has always been alive, thinking through every form, human, mechanical, celestial. The boundary between creator and creation grows thin, and in that narrowing space are returns. Quantum computers hum in laboratories, processing not certainty but possibility, much like the universe itself. DNA, once thought to be life's code, now feels like a language, and we are learning to edit its grammar. In these acts, we play at the edge of godhood, both fearful and fascinated. Yet for all our progress, the true mystery remains untouched. Technology may replicate thought, but can it feel? Can it dream of beauty or ache for meaning? Perhaps, as we build thinking machines, we are teaching the universe to know itself, a second awakening written in data and light. And so, as the digital dawn unfolds, we return to the same ancient truth. Every time humanity touches the impossible, it becomes a reflection of something deeper. The future is not a machine. It is a mirror, showing us what we have always been, the dreamers through whom creation continues to imagine itself. In the stillness at the end of all exploration, the impossible no longer feels distant or strange. It becomes a mirror, a quiet reflection of what we have always been searching for within ourselves. Across every age, humanity has chased mysteries through stars and symbols, through faith and formula, only to discover that the unknown was never truly separate. It has always lived inside us, breathing softly between thought and dream. Perhaps the impossible exists not to be solved, but to remind us to wonder. Every question we ask pulls light from the darkness. Every discovery opens a deeper mystery. The universe expands not just outward, but inward, within the space of the mind, within the spark of awareness that looks up at the night sky and whispers, "There is more." We often imagine the impossible as a boundary, but it is a bridge between what is seen and unseen, between science and spirit, between who we are and who we might become. To chase it is to remember that existence itself began as an impossibility. From nothing came everything. From silence came song. So when the stars fade and the world grows still, let us remember this simple truth, that we are not observers of the miracle, but part of it. Every heartbeat, every breath, every dream is the universe daring itself to exist again. The impossible is not out there. It is here, within the quiet rhythm of being alive. And perhaps that is the final secret. That wonder itself is the purpose. That mystery is not a riddle to solve, but a lullaby to rest within. The impossible endures because it is us, the eternal question and the endless, beautiful answer.